Good afternoon, Excellencies, honorable guests, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen. Please kindly be informed that our program is now live. Please make sure that your microphone is muted when the program begins. Thank you. A warm welcome to the 18th panel discussion of the AVI-SDG Dialogue. My name is Saron Viria. I am a junior researcher at the Center for Sustainable Development Studies at the Asian Vision Institute. And it is my great pleasure to be today's Master of Ceremony. Today, AVI-SDG Dialogue brings to you the 18th topic of our webinar series on the topic of social protection for sustainable development in Cambodia to the floor for discussion. And within this topic, we are interested to know what are the progresses and challenges in achieving social protection for sustainable development in Cambodia? What are the key interventions being implemented for social protection for sustainable development in Cambodia? And what are the proposed short-term interventions and long-term strategies for supporting social protection for sustainable development in Cambodia? And what roles should multi-stakeholders and the public play in supporting the process? Excellencies, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, in the meantime, we are honored to have our prominent leaders and researchers in the diverse development fields who will deliver valuable comments in our program today. Before starting our program, please allow me to introduce our honorable speakers waiting on the screen to share their presentations and comments. First, allow me to introduce our honorable speaker, His Excellency Chua Supanye. His Excellency Chua Supanye is currently the delegate of Royal Government in charge as Director General, National Social Assistance Fund. He holds a bachelor degree in law from Bilbright University and a bachelor's degree in accounting from Banda Institute. He also holds a Master of Public Administration from Pesahatmuni Raja Buddhist University, and currently he is pursuing a PhD in public policy at the Royal Academy of Cambodia. He has worked since 2005 with several roles, such as an official of the Department of Labor in Phnom Penh, Deputy Director of Administration Department, Director of Social Welfare and Department for 7 years, and in March of 2022, he was appointed as the Royal Government Delegate in charge as Director General, National Social Assistance Fund, has the same status as the Secretary of State. Second, please give a warm welcome to our honorable speaker, Mr. Anthony Robert Gill. Mr. Anthony heads the Portfolio Administration Unit at ADB's Cambodia Resident Mission. And before moving to Cambodia, he was a member of the Greater Mekong Sub-Region Economic Cooperation Program Secretariat and the head of both Portfolio Administration and Country Programming for ADB's Indonesia Resident Mission. Prior to working in Southeast Asia, Mr. Anthony was the head of programming and the country economist for Palau and the Federated States of Micronesia. He has over 25 years of experience as a development professional and a consultant in both multilateral and bilateral development organizations. He has a master's degree in environmental management and development from the Australian National University and was a peace monitor during the civil strife in Bougainville in 2001, for which he was awarded the Australian Service Medal. He is also a recipient for the AusAid Australia Day Model. Finally, please allow me to introduce Mr. Phin Ko. Mr. Ko is a program manager for social protection with the International Labour Organization in Cambodia. He is the organization's focal point for social protection in Cambodia and serves as technical advisor to the government institutions and social partners such as employer groups and trade unions. His work focuses on the development of social protection system by increasing capacity within national institutions through better adoption of technology, extending coverage, and improving benefits through enhanced coordination frameworks and implementation, and improving accountability through M&E, policy and strategy reviews. He is a pragmatic advocate of a rights-based approach to development and is passionate about pro-poor economic growth and addressing systemic inequalities. Prior to his current role, he spent 7 years as a consultant specializing in data analytics and digital transformation for MNCs, SMEs, and government institutions in Southeast Asia. He holds a master's in public policy from Maastricht Graduate School of Governance and United Nations University Maastricht Economic and Social Research Institute on Innovation and Technology. So, Excellencies, honorable speakers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, following our agenda today, we will start our captivating program. On the first agenda, on the role of the International Labor Organization for Social Protection for Sustainable Development by Mr. Finko. Second, on the role of ADB for Social Protection for Sustainable Development by Mr. Anthony Robert Gill. And our final agenda on governmental policies and interventions for social protection for sustainable development by His Excellency Chua Subanyu. And we will lastly open the floor for a joint discussion followed by a group photo session with all our honorable speakers at the end of the program. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, if you wish to have any questions during the presentation period, please be sure to drop your questions in Zoom or Facebook Live so that our honorable speakers will be able to address your questions when the discussion session starts. Without further delay, please allow me to invite our honorable speaker from the International Labor Organization, Mr. Finn, to deliver his presentation. Please, the floor is yours.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes,
All right,
we
good.
hear you.
Hi, nice to see all. Nice to see all of you here. I will keep my presentation really short. It's about it's briefly about the role of the ILO in social protection in Cambodia for sustainable development, and I would briefly touch on some of the main points of this dialogue, but maybe I would skip through some of this very detail about in short-term, medium-term interventions, but we could discuss them depending on the subsequent two presentations that will follow after. So without further ado, let me just briefly run through what I've prepared for this dialogue session. So just a little bit background of the International Labour Organization. I know sometimes many people are not sure what the ILO is. So the ILO is a specialized agency for the United Nations and the only tripartite agency that brings government employers and workers to set labor standards, develop policy, devise programs, promoting decent work for all women and men since 1919. Now, Cambodia actually became a member of the ILO in 1969. And since the 90s, the ILO has been an active partner in the Cambodia economic, social and democratic recovery, playing an important role in helping to restore livelihoods, generate sustainable employment, rebuild infrastructure, and to set up and strengthen democratic institutions. In Cambodia, ILO supports the RG Royal Government Cambodia's rectangular strategy for growth, employment, equity, and efficiency, and the National Strategic Development Framework through the ILO Decent Work Country Program, which covers skills and human resource development, youth and women employment, the informal economy, small medium enterprises, social protection, labor market governance, and industrial relations and social dialogue. So the Decent Work Country Program 2019-2023 has three main priorities. I would only, you could read from the slides on the see that the three priorities, but I will focus mostly on priority 2, which is what the topic of today we're talking about, strengthening and expanding social protection, including safety and health and occupational safety and health. So in terms of priority 2, we do have two very specific outcomes that were pertaining to social protection. The first one is that more Cambodian women, men, youth, and vulnerable groups have access to gradually expanded social protection benefits or services, particularly in the informal economy. The second outcome is for social protection systems to operate in a transparent, sustainable, coordinated, well-administered, and equitable manner. So this current decent country country work plan has a strong link with the rectangular strategic goal tree of the government, which includes implementing social protection policy, lowering burden of daily life along the provision of quality public service, and reduce social disparity. It's also linked to the rectangle 1 of human resource development, particularly strengthening gender equality and social protection. The key strategies that are engaged is to strengthen the legislative, policy, and institutional environment, expanding the coverage of social protection, strengthening social protection of migrant workers through inter-country agreements, supporting employers and workers' organizations to raise awareness among their members, and to also promote a gender-sensitive, digital, and other relevant means for contribution to social protection schemes. Over the last few years and currently, we do have a few programs that are supporting on social protection. They are currently ongoing or have just recently ended in Cambodia. There are the joint program, UN joint program on supporting national social protection policy framework. There are 2 EU-funded programs on improving synergies between social protection and public financial management, and other numbers of projects. So I always like to, when people always ask me what is the role of ILO. Now this is a photo. I'm not sure many people would recognize who it is, but on the left of the photo is Sir Edmund Hillary, who is the first man who have reached the summit of Mount Everest on May 29th, 1953. On the right is the Sherpa who has guided him to achieve this achievement. His name is Tenzing Norgay. And I always like to frame the role of ILO as the Sherpa that supports the royal government of Cambodia's achievement of the Cambodia's national development agenda. So how does social protection and sustainable development is linked? Well, first, these are 4 of the main SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. They are heavily linked with social protection. SDG 1.3 specifically mentioned implementing national appropriate social protection systems and measures for all, including flaws, and by 2030 achieve substantial coverage of the poor and the vulnerable. It is also linked to 2.1, which looks at ending hunger and access people and to ensure that including people have to access to safe, nutritious, sufficient food around the year. It's also linked to 3.8, which speaks about achieving universal health coverage, including financial risk protection and access to quality essential healthcare services and safe, effective quality medicines and vaccines. It is also a reference on 10.4, which addresses adopting policies, including especially fiscal, wage, and social protection policy, to progressively achieve greater equality and reduce the level of inequality within societies. So if we look into the current Cambodia social protection system, this is a depiction of a social protection bureau that was part of the review that ILO did on the National Social Protection Policy Framework. And you could see that the outcomes of social protection is listed right above, and there are many different life cycle risks that the social protection seeks to address. Now, you also clearly see there's 2 distinctive tiers, the tier 1 and tier 2, tier 1 of social assistance and tier 2 of social security. And currently both tiers are actually not harmonized, and there is very little, there are some overlaps, and there's some. You would also see that in terms of color coded, the dark blue are those that are contribution finance, whereas those in orange are financed through the general budget. There are also a few proposed plan schemes in terms of the family package, which is coordination of a few risk areas of childhood, maternity, health, childhood and maternity in terms of school feeding, scholarships, and cash transfer program for pregnant women, young youth, and young children, and also the elderly cash transfer. Something this was done in early this year, and that then the pension scheme has not been launched. But as of October this year, the pension scheme has been formally launched. So this, if we were to update it now, would be a dark blue circle, where dark blue square, sorry, where it's the pension scheme has just started. But we know that there are certain challenges within the social protection system here in Cambodia. One of the main and big challenge is significant coverage gaps. As you can look across the various life cycles, most of the people, close to 88% of all children, 86% of the population, 85% of people who are not covered in terms of the different life cycle risk. 85% of all workers are not covered by any social security schemes. 40% of all workers are own account workers, and only 4% of them are covered by social security scheme. This includes not just workers who are working on daily wage, but also wage workers on monthly, bi-monthly pays are also not covered by social security scheme. One of the biggest challenge we know is because 83.5% of all these workers are working in very informal economy units who do not pay any taxes, who are not registered with the government institutions. There is also another major challenge, which is on the budget allocation for social protection, or the fiscal space for social protection. As you can see from the graph on the left, Cambodia currently spends about 2.3% of GDP per capita on social protection. This compares to other countries in the region, like in the same socioeconomic status, countries such as Nepal, Bhutan, Philippines, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, who spend substantially 1.5 to 2 times, or even 3 times more on social protection than Cambodia. If we look to the further breakdown, the big part of the regular social protection expenditure is only 1.23% of the GDP, and the COVID-19 response, which is a very successful and remarkable effort done by the royal government of Cambodia, was also was slightly more than half of the regular social protection expenditure. So in short, in summary, there is still quite a bit of space, and there is still quite a bit of need to increase the allocation for social protection. So there are certain strategic actions to achieve the outcomes of social protection. We kind of put it down into four main areas. One is about coverage. We spoke about the lack of the coverage of social protections here in Cambodia, where even the social assistance and social security scheme put together would have not covered more than, and assuming absolutely no overlap, would not cover more than 30 to 40% of the population. Now, sustainability is also an issue. We have looked into how social protection can be consistently financially sustained over a long period of time, that it is gradual increase in expansion of the social protection and increase cost of the social protection investment into social protection can be maintained. Governance, looking towards governance is also an issue. As we expand the social protection system, increase the coverage and increase adequacy, there is a need to ensure that the governance system can deliver the accountability and the transparency and the efficiency expected of the system. Last but not least, coherence matters, because you do want, it's a big part of the efficiency, and you do not want to create perverse incentive where people are moving between social assistance and social security schemes, where people are double dipping into the system or choosing not to be participate within the social protection system. So addressing this requires both policy priorities and system building. I would not go through the next few slides because they're pretty wordy, but there are a few strategic actions to achieve the outcomes of social protection. Of course, first, big headlines will be expanding coverage and scope of social assistance to the ID poor, near poor, and especially to vulnerable populations. Other strategic actions will include expanding coverage and scope of the employment-based social security and social health protection. Then there are also other actions such as developing policy options for gradual expansion to bridge coverage, ensuring policy development and program links with social assistance into basic social services, addressing cross-cutting issues and governance, developing social protection financing strategy, including financing frameworks and tools, investing into capacity of the key institutions such as the General Secretary of the National Social Protection Council, National Social Assistance Fund, and the National Social Security Fund for improved delivery of the social protection system. This would include, of course, digitalizations, which include digital payment system, enrollment system, M&E grievance and complaints. So I end off my presentation with a question. Is there a question about what roles should all these multi-stakeholders and public play in support of the process? I don't think I'm in a position to say and to address what each of these stakeholders should do, but it's something that I think in this question and discussion, it is important to consider what role does the government do plays, what role do international development partners like the ILO play. For the ILO, as shared right at the start, earlier at the start, we see ourselves as the Sherpa. We have the technical expertise, we have the necessary conventions and recommendations that the member states, the countries have signed up to, and these guides our normative position in terms of how to develop, and in terms of how and what and how to develop the social protection system. So we see our role as a technical agency to support that particular development. There is also a question of how the private sector can play its role in terms of their ESG commitments, their CSR activities. Also, in terms of civil society, how would civil society play their role in terms of raising the voice of the demands and being a strong voice on the demand side? Academia's think tank also have a role to play in terms of providing additional technical support to the government in terms of policy designs and perhaps in terms of implementation. And then there is also the population, which it has an important role in demanding for their right to social protection and right to social security, and to provide feedback to help the system improve. So with that, I would like to keep my presentation short. I think I ran slightly over time of my 15 minutes allocated. But I will thank you for your time, and I look forward to any questions you may have at the end of the presentations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Goh, for your informative presentation. Not only has he provided us with information on the establishment of the ILO in Cambodia, he has also given insightful information into the projects that has been done, ongoing projects, and moreover, we have gotten in-depth strategic actions as well as the contributions of multi-stakeholders on what can be done on social protection for sustainable development in Cambodia. And that would be a great start for our discussion later. Next, I would like to invite our honorable speaker, Mr. Anthony Robert Gill, head of the Portfolio Administration Unit at ADB's Cambodia Resident Mission. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Excellency Sapanaha, Excellencies, delegates and colleagues. It's a delight to be here today. Is my slide up on the screen now?
Yes, our team is working on it.
That's no problem. So it is a delight to be here today. Thank you very much for inviting ADB. Next slide, please. To talk to you today on what is not only a very, very important topic for Cambodia, but also one that's growing in importance within the government. Next slide, please. I really appreciated the comments and the presentation by my colleague from the ILO, and I apologize in advance if some of the things that I talk about seem a bit repetitive, but I guess it's all part of putting an argument together. The government has a national social protection policy framework that you see in front of you, where there's a distinct difference between social assistance and social security. Now, social assistance is about emergency response, human capital development, vocational training, and welfare for the vulnerable. Whereas the social security is about the pension and the health insurance, employment injury insurance, unemployment insurance, and disability insurance. And these are support schemes. Next slide, please. However, ADB's approach and social protection strategy is slightly different. We've defined social protection as a set of policies and programs designed to reduce poverty and vulnerability by promoting labour, reducing people's exposure to risk, and enhancing their capacity to protect themselves against hazards and the interruption or loss of income. On social assistance, we look at programs that help ensure income security and access to basic services for poor and vulnerable populations. Social assistance interventions may include cash transfers, social pensions, those in-kind transfers such as food for work programs and school feeding programs, asset transfers, scholarships. These are where the recipients pay, or the beneficiaries pay nothing. Social insurance, on the other hand, are where programs mitigate risk by providing income support in the event of illness, disability, work injury, maternity, unemployment, old age, and death. Social insurance programs may include pensions, social security systems, provident funds, health insurance, micro-insurance, small farmer agricultural insurance. And one thing we've been trialling here in Cambodia is weather indexed-based crop insurance, and of course, unemployment insurance. We see labour market programs supporting the development of job-relevant skills and workers retraining, particularly for low-skilled and marginalised workers. They also facilitate employment. Labour market programs may include active labour market policies and programs, passive labour market policies and programs, such as compliance with core labour standards, job security provisions, or improving work conditions. And my colleagues at ILO work a lot in this space as well. Next slide, please. Just following on from that, ADB's work in social protection in the region has policies and programs really started in the early 90s. But the share of social protection in ADB's portfolio has been inconsistent, rising slightly, but not on any sort of linear path. And when we investigate it, it really has been in response to major crises in the region, such as the 97-98 Asian financial crisis, the 2008 to 2010 food, fuel, and global economic and financial crisis, and of course, the most recent COVID-19 pandemic and the 2022 energy and food crisis that we're currently experiencing. And this is because the nature of ADB programs providing substantive budget support to social protection activities during crisis is one of those key roles that ADB play within the region. Next slide, please. Having said that, social protection in Cambodia really started as a poverty reduction tool during the NSPS of 2011. But of course now is seen as a central pillar of Cambodia's COVID-19 response. And there are a lot of good social protections that are going on. The Health Equity Fund is the most extensive social protection program, offering free health services to 2 million poor Cambodians. The ID Poor services is a social economic register of poor and vulnerable households. And the pandemic has brought social protection to the forefront of the government's response efforts to mitigate its social impacts. I think personally that, the government is to be highly congratulated on its active and increasing focus on social protection. And while the COVID-19 response may have been a catalyst for much of this change, I think we should really congratulate the government on its foresight and its commitment to social protection of Cambodians. Of course, we will discuss today many of the challenges that still remain, the weaknesses of the system, etc. But I don't think we should lose sight of just how much the government has done. I noticed in my colleague's graph earlier that, I think it was 2.2 or 2.3%, or was it 1.3%, of GDP was spent on social protection. But when we look at the less developed countries or low income countries in that graph, Cambodia's contribution as a proportion of GDP was very, very high. I don't know if you noticed that Laos and Myanmar were not on the graph at all. Whereas the ones that were pointed out, Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, are all middle to high income countries where we would expect a higher proportion of GDP spent on social protection. That doesn't mean that the government couldn't and shouldn't do more, but I think we need to recognise how much it has done and how committed it is. Next slide. When we look at Cambodia's challenges, and I guess this is very, very similar to my colleagues from ILO, he carved it up in a different way. But we're really looking at institutional and human resource capacity to effectively implement these priority programs that have been outlined by myself and others. We're looking at things like competency certification for program implementers at the sub-national level, coordination between agencies implementing priority social protection programs, recruitment guidelines and competency standards, access and experience to digital technology. When we think about digitalization, integration and shock responsiveness, shock responsive delivery systems, the challenges are around digital technology solutions across the social protection delivery chain, integration of social protection ICT systems with other government systems, systems for monitoring and evaluation, for grievance redressal and for payment delivery. Delivery systems with shock responsiveness and adaptive features for disaster and climate change shocks. And also coverage among certain populations who are currently missed out, as my colleague mentioned in the last presentation, such as the elderly and people with disabilities, urban poor, and those living in disaster prone areas who aren't on the IDP program already. The other challenge is the integration of the social protection with the human capital development. Here the challenges include, financial resources for workers to access skills and vocational training, promoting skills development for vulnerable workers, reliable and predictable safety nets to incentivize entrepreneurship and livelihood diversification, digital and financial literacy, and programs integrating social assistance and skills development for youth, informal workers and small business owners. And these are the sorts of responses ADB believe are important to address the challenges for strengthening the social protection system here in Cambodia. But we recognise that this has to be done at the government and the people's pace to deliver these changes. These changes can't be forced too fast. Next slide, please. The key to the question that we were given for our presentation today was around the role of ADB, social protection work in Cambodia. Earlier, I opened up with ADB's surges in support to social protection being crisis-driven, where the governments are looking for emergency financial support to address existing crisis. That's not going to change. Those mechanisms ADB will continue to provide into the future. But inherently, they need to be driven by the government, sought by the government, and requested by the government. We respond to the government's demand for support. Having said that, you know, we are inherently a part of the social protection dialogue going on in Cambodia. In its wisdom and its commitment to social protection, the government has established a working group on social protection, which combines government ministries and development partners for an open collaborative dialogue and coordination of activities on social protection mechanisms in Cambodia. In addition to that, ADB has provided quite a lot of technical assistance in the past on strategies for financing social protection to achieve the SDGs, enhancing ADB's support for social protection, which helped the Cambodian government update the social protection indicator, supporting Digital Cambodia for inclusive development, which supported the development and implementation of a one-stop shop model for service delivery using an integrated digital platform, starting to address one of those challenges I mentioned earlier. ADB is also assisting the government in evaluating the IDP POR program and analysing its results. And of course, this is intended to help improve both the coverage and the efficiency and the effectiveness of the IDP POR program. We've also provided lending support during the crisis with 250 million in budget support for social protection initiatives, which of course you will have heard of before. We will always remain here supporting the government, both from a policy perspective, a coordination perspective, and an emergency response perspective to strengthen social protection in the region. Next slide. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions during the session later on.
So thank you so much, Mr. Anthony Robert Gill, for your valuable remarks. He has given us in-depth information on the tremendous contribution of ADB on social protection for sustainable development in Cambodia, and he has also addressed challenges that Cambodia is facing in terms of the issue. Finally, I would like to invite our honorable speaker from the Ministry of Social Affairs, Veterans and Youth Rehabilitation to deliver his speech. His Excellency Susapanya, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much that you got my voice.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much that give me the floor, and let me sorry that I cannot open the video while we have some that I just outside the office. Yeah, so thank you so much to give the floor to me to say about what is the interventions of the government on the social protection. Well, social protection is one of the policies that is very quite interesting and also more concentrate for the government in assessment that of the government. And later on, that this is one of the policy that will be the target for the next government also. While as you see in the last mandate, that more of the stakeholders in the government more focused on the side of the social protection. And now let me just bring all of you to see about what is the intervention, especially during the COVID pandemic. COVID pandemic is very quite of the pandemic that happened without prediction. While this is one is the subject there are the heavy subject for testing to all the leadership for all the government in the world. But within this, Cambodia also gave the good intervention for COVID-19. If we see in the side of the social security, especially on the side of the workers, the government just give intervention for providing the sub grant for the worker who suspend work. And in that way, that the government also pay just a support for the other factory or the company in the how to recover from the economic from the pandemic also. But if we go to see about the social assistance side, the social assistance side is very quite useful. While before we never have the program for support social assistance, even we had some intervention, but it's not just quite for the use for a useful one that can be for that can make the people to be favors and also to guarantee the livings that are living on the people. But within this, that within the national social protection framework that the government of Cambodia just create the other scheme in order how to support or to release the livings of the people, especially during COVID-19. So during the COVID-19, the government just spent the money more than 856 million US dollars during 2 years. That this intervention just gave to the people throughout the digitalizations and also to guarantee and to ensure about the living of the people. And throughout this, then we can see this is a good lesson learned from the government to make the people to be humble in the society, especially during the COVID-19. And throughout this program, that is very quite useful to show some of the strongness of the government to be intervention to the people. And one more thing, that way that can be to guarantees about the accountability, transparency, and especially about the collaboration with all the stakeholders. While before we implement for that program, that we see all the stakeholders that they just do the program with their own thing, not and without the collaboration with each others. But throughout this, that you can see all the stakeholders like the Ministry of Planning, that they just responsible on the data identification, and Ministry of Interior, that they just work on the side for how to guarantee the capacity building and also mobilize the resource in the grassroots level, especially for the commune and the district for the monitor and evaluation for the program. And also Ministry of Finance, and they just work on the side how to guarantee or to facilitate on the financial situation. And one more thing that we have the Ministry of the Social Affairs, Veteran and Rehabilitation to be the lead for the program. So not only for the government stakeholders, but we also have the joined from the others partners like UNICEF. UNICEF is one of the most that can be worked on how to support for the program, and also have the GIZ, UNDP, and the other stakeholders in the how to guarantee and to promote and to make this program to be prevalent for the people, and to show about the strongness of the social assistance in Cambodia. And this is the experience for using, but move forward. That beside this program, that now you see about the inflation that are happened because of the crisis or the war between Russia and Ukraine. That makes inflation happen not only in Cambodia and not only in Cambodia, but in over the world. But Cambodia is just give intervention that the government will launch the other one program that announced by the Prime Minister in the last 2 months, that the government will launch the program for cash transfer for the people who have the risk because of the inflation. And one more thing, while the inflation happened, but also that in Cambodia we are unluckily that we have the flood. The flood also have that makes the people and destroy all the infrastructure, and also especially affect the living of the people. So that the government will launch the other one program for the cash transfer for the people who are at risk because of the flood. So all of this program will be will show the strongness of the government for intervention for the social assistance, and move forward that the government not only stop on that side, that we have to just have the vision and perspective for implement the program for the family package. For the family package, we have the 3 pillars that will be ensure on the social assistance side for makes the people to be sure that they will graduate from the poor. By one that we more focus on the cash transfer for the vulnerable, for the poor people and vulnerable group that have the pregnant women and child under from 0 to 2 years old. Also, we have the vulnerable of elderly from 80 years, from 60 up, and we have the disability, and also the scholarship program, and the people who are HIV, positive HIV also. So for this program, we'll be thinking on how to do costing as the cash transfer to their family. Besides, more focus on the livelihood program. The livelihood program is very quite useful. That we also have their own perspective that cash transfer is not only the mechanism that can make the people to graduate from the poor, but if we want them to graduate from the poor, that we need to guarantee about what is the sustainability of their living throughout the generate the income from their business. So that we just thinking on how to create the job, and also we make their SME or the others in how that they can generate income throughout the business of in their family. So this is the way that we are thinking about the livelihood program is very quite useful in order how to make all the people in the families, and especially the head of household can be move forward within their income. And the other third pillar that we are more focused on the referral service. Referral service is one of the very quite important thing that we can alignment to their living while they have income, they have the cash, but they need the government social service that can give them the comfort zone and also the harmonize in the society. So this is the way that we think, and that we just have their own perspective and their vision in order how to guarantee the social assistance in Cambodia. Besides that, we also have the other program that to guarantee some of the jobless of the years, while the government have to design the cash transfer for the the car transfer for TVET, yeah, for vocational training. That this is the way that we can make and that we can make our youth that they are not very quite interesting to start to continue their study in the high school or whatever, and when they left the school, so that if they wanted to have their own skills, so the government just to design for this program, and if nothing is not changed, and we can implement this program in February 2023. Yeah, so this is what I just mentioned about what is the social assistance in Cambodia, and we hope that all of this program can be guaranteed and ensure that the strongness and the commitment of the government to recover the economic, and also that we can ensure that all the social assistance intervention of the government can be the mechanism to contribute to the poor reduction in Cambodia. Okay, last but not least, that let me thanks again that you gave me the floor for sharings on how is the government social protection in Cambodia. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, His Excellency Chua Sapanya, for your insightful and profound remarks. His Excellency has provided us with valuable information on the governmental policies as well as interventions to be implemented to bolster better social protection for sustainable development in Cambodia. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we've enjoyed listening to very insightful comments from our honorable speakers. Our program is now approaching to the open discussion session. So if you have any questions, then please feel free to leave your questions in the Facebook Live or down in the Zoom chat box. It looks like we have already received the questions from our participants on Zoom. So the question is, since social protection in Cambodia is still very much needed and there is a lot that can be done, also that many sectors are still lacking in progress. So what is the main priority or sector or area do you think that Cambodia need to prioritize or need to focus on in order to achieve better social protection for sustainable development in the country? This question is extended to all speakers. So if you wish to answer, just unmute yourself, please. Yes, Mr. Anthony, you can go ahead and speak.
Okay. I mean, this is now the most important part of the discussion. So I encourage everybody to keep those questions coming, because we can present something that satisfies our needs, thinking about what you want to hear. But until you ask the questions, we're not satisfying your needs. So please keep those questions coming. But in response to the question that's been asked, my personal view is, or ADB's view is, that the social protection mechanisms that are out there, the systems the protections that are there are already quite extensive for the country at this level of development. The question really isn't about what's the priority in terms of which social protection. I think it's much more about how do we get people to participate in those social protection structures, and how do we make them efficient and effective and efficiently run by the relevant bodies. And we talked about some of those challenges, but I think the key ones, and this was raised by His Excellency, is firstly, the coordination within government is the first mechanism we have to be working on. Secondly, it is the actual digital systems that manage these processes. Lastly, but not by no means least important, is the public awareness, both at subnational government level, but also the people as a whole. You can't provide social protection to people who don't know to apply for it, or don't know how to help people apply for it, or don't know how to give them access to it. So that information campaign, I think, is critical to the effectiveness of outreach for social protection in Cambodia. I think, Cambodians should be very proud of what their government has already done. They provided significant social protection last year for COVID and the year before, and they've decided to extend that this year because of the other crises going on, including the recent floods, as His Excellency mentioned. There's no doubt that the government believes in this very strongly, but it also believes in its responsibility to be able to support it, which means it has to go forward in a cautious manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony. I can see Mr. Finn raising his hand, so you may give us your response.
Yes, I think I would like to add to what Anthony has raised, and first, I think it's recognized both from, I think, across the world that the Cambodian COVID-19 response, social protection response, is a remarkable achievement that demonstrated the capacity and the capabilities of what the Royal Government of Cambodia could do, if they have the political will and the desire to do so. So I think this is definitely without a question. In terms of where the priority, I just wanted to add in a little bit, which is a important part of taking into account that the Cambodia government has an ambition of becoming a middle income country in 2030, and this means that the growth of the country that needs to be much more inclusive. It needs to be ensure that inequality is being addressed, and this means that the social protection system do need to expand proportionally, adequate to cover more people. Currently, more than it's only about the social, as you have here, the Social Health Equity Fund covers about 2 million people. And we know that the social security system through the National Health Insurance is covering about another 2 million if we include civil servants. This is 4 million people in a country of 16 million. And that's a sizable gap of which means that most people don't know. We have also looked into many, Anthony shared about awareness, and we have seen in numerous surveys, especially with workers, that they are completely unaware that social security is a right. The right to social protection, social security is a right, that every worker has the right to access social security, to participate in the contributory social security scheme, to participate in National Social Security Fund, to the right to have health insurance, employment work injury insurance, and also to a pension when they retire. So this awareness raising is definitely something that needs to be done, because as rightly pointed out, it's very hard to ensure that people are protected if they are not aware of their right and they are not aware of how to access these services.
Thank you. His Excellency, you may provide us with your response.
Yeah, thank you so much. That I just have to join in this, that before I respond to the question that I just had with Mr. Anthony. That actually I also wish to say on that side, AVC is about the collaboration of the government. That this is the way that is really quite useful. That now, as like I mentioned at the earlier, throughout the good experience from the cash transfer program, that now also I know that the Fin will be known clearly on how they implement in the last term of the government, and mostly now everybody's that they know themselves that what they need to implement in the side of the government, not their own, that they need to have the collaboration with each others. that if you see this template, that now all the stakeholders that they take a seat together in the table and they just talk together and they will know about what is their role and all the programs that are working together. It's quite better than they just working alone. And one more thing about the digitalization, and if you see on that, throughout the program of the car transfer, they mostly in among the 1,652 commune that we also equip all the tablet in 2 tablets in each commune to roll out the program of the social assistant. The roll out of the social assistant, all the roll out of the social assistant program are not using by manual, but they are using by the tablet. So this is one zone that the government is working and to mobilize on the resource in the grassroots level by digital light is more than by manual. While it is very quite useful and so surprised when we see that all the commune in Cambodia just move fastly for roll out the program by using the electronic that if we compare before the COVID-19, all the commune are roll out the program by using the handwork. It's not by the electronic, and not only for roll out but for M&E system also. That M&E system that for our social assistant program, that we also equip the tablet to all the district office. Yeah, among the 204 districts in Cambodia, that we equip the tablet for the M&E program, for the social assistant program. So mostly that they are using the digital light, is not using their manual. And on the other hand, ABC is about the awareness raising. For my opinion, my own opinion, I think awareness raising that we are working on the 2 sides. Firstly, that are awareness raising to the operator. If we want to be successful, the social protection, that we need to make awareness raising to all the stakeholders to know about what is their role for the social protection. Because if we say it's about the social protection is very widely, because all the stakeholders that are very quite relevant to all the part, because social protection is not just mentioned specifically in which area, but it also to mention with all the areas that are very inclusive. And one more thing that we needed to make awareness raising to the beneficiary also, because the beneficiary is very quite important when they don't know about what is their role and what is their contribution within the social protection. So our social protection cannot be success for implementation. Yeah. So back to the question that I just share the idea that now you see is about the commitment of the government, because according to the possibility and capacity of the finance of the government, that now the government can ensure ourselves that we can give intervention for the social protection with all the parts. And now the government just to keep its priority to all the ministry, just thinking on how to give intervention for that are involving with the social protection. Why the government just think on like that? Because actually, you already know that the government just to set up the goal for 2030 and 2050 that the government needed to reach out for that one. So when the government wish to reach out on that side, is not mean just to set up the goal, but also to improve and to build a capacity for the all the government officers in order how to guarantee ourselves. And one more thing that the government tried to push on economic growth in order how to make the country to reach out for that goal. Yeah, it's over.
Okay, thank you so much, His Excellency, for your elaborate response. So as our speakers have provided us with the response to the question, it is evident that effective social protection is a result of collective effort, not only...
May I be John?
Yes, yes, you may.
Yeah, okay. That I forgot one more thing. That if you see the commitment for the government to ensure for the social protection, then now you already know that the government, before AVCs about the pillar of the social protection, like a friend and also Mr. Attorney just mentioned that we have the two pillars. One is social security and one social assistance. And before AVCs about the social security, that we have one institution that are handled and coordinate and operate for the side of social security. But now, in order how to ensure the social assistance that the government in March 2022, the government tried to create one new institution that is the National Social Assistance Fund for guarantee and also to ensure about the operation of the social assistance. So this is the way that show the government just to have the commitment throughout preparing and organizing all the institutes who are working on the side of the specific area, and also to help and also to coordinate with all the stakeholders in order how to provide the good input and to ensure the progress of the social assistance program. Yeah, it's over.
Thank you once again, His Excellency. So we can see that effective social protection is a result of collective effort, not only from inter and intra-ministerial coordination, but also from major stakeholders like the ILO and the ADB to ensure that each and every person understand that it is their fundamental right to receive social protection. We have already have questions lining up first. So another question came from our Facebook Live. So the question says, social protection covers child poverty and vulnerability, and that social protection programs on children and communities are very much needed. But from what I can observe, the lack of quality education stems from poverty. But at the same time, poverty is caused by the lack of education. So how do you think that we can break away from the cycle in order to ensure that each and every person is given the social protection that they need and deserve?
Maybe let me take a quick answer to this question. I think this is a difficult question. I think the first thing you want to recognize is social protection is not a magic bullet that addresses every development goals and objective of the government. If you've seen from my slide earlier, it focuses on addressing certain sustainable development goals, SDGs, but it will adequately address certain SDGs if it's done well, but it would leave certain SDGs, especially on education, like education, access to education, quality of education, is not addressed. But I think the person who asked this question rightly points out that a lack of social protection when young children are living in poverty, they have to stop school, skip school, to engage in informal work. They are unable, they have issues in the family and hence unable to consistently attend school. They would have a lower human capital development. They will have a poorer education outcome, and in turn this propagates the intergenerational poverty, and it prevents this household from moving out from poverty. So social protection what social protection can address is to address that, provide that income stability, to provide that basic needs that could give a supporting environment for a child, a young adult, a child, to attend education, to go to education, or as Anthony shared, to pick up skills, to engage a safety net, to perhaps engage in entrepreneurship. But it cannot supplement weaknesses in, for example, in the education system, the quality of the education. These are things that also do need investments into, that I think is a little bit outside of the scope of today's discussion. So I do know, for example, ADB also has a very huge education portfolio of work. Many other development partners, UNICEF, UNESCO's also have a big education part of work. And I think this is also pertaining to what Excellency Sopana has shared. Addressing development, sustainable development and development goals for Cambodia, it's an effort that requires multi-stakeholders, not just a particular ministry. You have hear from Excellency Sopana, to successfully deliver the COVID-19 program, it involves multiple ministries coming together, and to achieve the goals that the person who asked the question raised. Then this requires participation not just of social institutions that are implementing social protection, also designing social protection policies, but also other ministries, Ministry of Education, Youth and Sports, ensuring quality of educations. Ministry of Women, many other government stakeholders, together with the support of other development partners in this respect. Thank you.
Okay, Finn, that I just joined that I support to your idea. And one more thing that if we still that this is what related to the Anthony said about, if we say it's about social protection, that is social protection is not mentioned on who is their own, but it's for all together. And one more thing, for that question, we should need to know ourselves clearly that to release the education, release the education for the poor student, then we need to know ourselves that is not just focus on the school or on education side, but also we need to think on how the contribution from their family also. Within this, that the government just to look deeply on how to give the support to the poor family throughout the cash transfer program. That now we just thinking on the scholarship program that can guarantee on how that they can manage or they can got the support from the government and they can send their student to school. And one more thing, that before that working on that side, the government not just only working on supporting the child, but we also think on how to support their family, because their family is very quite important, that can make and send them to school. Yeah, it's over. Thank you.
Thank you, His Excellency. Mr. Anthony, do you have anything to add?
Yes, look, my colleagues, I think, have covered the question extremely well. And of course, social protection cannot cover everything. The government cannot afford to cover everything, even if it wanted to. But a lot of changes has been made in basic education. ADB focuses on secondary and technical and vocational education, and not basic education. But there are a lot of development partners there in the basic education arena. It's a very difficult opportunity cost for very poor families about whether they choose education over work or the family needs. These are difficult decisions. We all understand the benefits of education and further outreach programs to help others understand that the long-term benefits of education are critical to the family's well-being, are being made, and they will continue to be made and need to be made into the future. It's not something we can change overnight.
So thank you, Mr. Anthony, for your response. We have a little bit more time, so we can take on a few more questions. So our next question is, we have heard a lot from the contribution of the government and major stakeholders on social protection for sustainable development in Cambodia. So aside from the roles and responsibilities taken by the government and relevant NGOs, what are the roles or responsibilities that each citizen in the country can do on improving social protection for other people in the same country?
Yes, that I just joined first. That the role of the citizen for contribution within the social protection. And if we say about the pension that they need to contribute, yeah, for within what they, because actually if they want the government to pay for that, then they need to contribute. Even the government just handle on the side how that they will give the pension to the people, but as the globalized contextualize that we need contribution. And one more thing, the most important that is not focused on the pension, but the others role of the social protection, that all the citizens that they need to play their role to educate to the people, and also to how that they need to learn more deeply on how that they can contribute and work on with the other with the other alignment ministry or with the other stakeholder in the how that they can work, and also that they can join within the government or the development partner that can make the people to know on the social protection. Yeah, it's over.
Thank you, His Excellency, for your response to our two speakers. Okay, Mr. Anthony, you may start.
Yes, thank you very much. And I certainly echo His Excellency's comments. Cambodia has a very, very rich culture in terms of community support, and I wouldn't want to comment on that being a non-Cambodian. I guess the other area, and there are lots of those support that you can provide to poor through those community mechanisms, and I leave that to Cambodians to discuss. On the more formal side, I guess the first thing to do is pay your taxes, because that's where the money comes from. Pay your taxes so the government can redistribute it. That's my first answer. But my second answer is very much along His Excellency's line, which is, if you understand these mechanisms, then you are a part of the outreach program. So please help other people understand. Talk about your experiences and benefits. We've been implementing a weather-based crop insurance scheme for the last 2 years through one of our agriculture sector projects. And it's people's understanding of the concept of insurance and their confidence that they'll be able to get a payout in an adverse outcome that has been very slow for this system to take hold. Of course, when people start getting a payment through an insurance scheme, the word spreads quickly. But when people talk about it, that's when these sorts of mechanisms also take off. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony. And Mr. Finn, do you have anything to add on to this?
No, but I don't think I have anything to add on this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, His Excellency.
Yeah, actually, that's just only my opinion. That I think my own opinion that actually we can use the social protection can be the part of the harmonization in the society. We do not using the social protection as the business. As the business in here that I just say, the people is not more focused and also depend on the government. But we need to bring, for example, like the vulnerable group or the poor household, when they receive the assistance from the government, that we that all of them that can collaborate or contribute with the government by bring that assistance to make their living or their income to be better, not just depend on the government for the whole. And one more thing, that some of the stakeholders, especially like the media, not bring the social assistance to be the part of their business. Just bring that as the humble of the harmonization of the society. Yeah, it's over. Thank you.
Thank you, His Excellency, and to our audience. I hope our speakers has given elaborate response and you have taken a lot of key points to what you have asked. Since we only have a few more minutes, I would like to only choose one more question, unfortunately, since we do not have time. So the question is, the COVID-19 pandemic has plunged many parts of the world into economic downturn, especially for SMEs and those who lack digital access. So how has the COVID-19 pandemic posed challenges to the working progress of the ILO, the ADB, and the government on social protection? And do you need to double the effort to see visible improvements on the issue? Thank you. Okay, Mr. Anthony, you can start and then I'll follow up with Mr. Finn.
Yeah, I only put my hand up because I didn't hear anybody talking. Firstly, I think the government has done just a superb job in providing and upgrading its social protection mechanisms as a consequence of COVID. As said earlier, one of the world's leaders, and it did very quickly, as His Excellency has pointed out, start to get collaboration across ministries to support that IDP Poor program. But they also did many, many other things in terms of tax incentives or tax waivers and debt restructuring for businesses and small to medium enterprises during the COVID process. And ADB was there supporting them through many of those efforts in terms of analysis and policy advice and guidance. And we will continue to do that into the future. And indeed, we are always doing that. And the government certainly takes ADB's guidance seriously, but it's something that they also need to weigh up and make final decisions on behalf of the people of Cambodia. But I think every Cambodian should be proud and confident that the people I speak to very much care about these issues. And it comes up a lot in our discussions with government. Going forward, of course, systems can always be improved. The government must balance its budget between supporting economic growth and also encouraging equality and equity and social protection. So it's a very difficult balancing act for any government to make. But they do keep seeking advice by some of the world's best professionals in this area and trying to get that balance right. So I think the people of Cambodia should be very happy with their government in this regard. Thank you.
I think I just wanted to add that I think COVID-19 and the crisis and any other crisis in the future will always present challenges for how the government operates, how international development institutions like ADB, for ILO, and other bilateral development organizations operates and help to support, the government in its development agenda. Now, the COVID-19 crisis presented us unique challenges in the sense that the global travel was stopped. It was very difficult for people to get technical expertise. We are having this discussion on Zoom, which was something that really didn't happen 2 years ago. I would say before COVID-19. Such webinars are not really a common occurrence. I mean, they do happen, but not as common as it is now. But this also means that there are other activities that used to have happened face-to-face in person that are now no longer held in person and has moved to webinar, and that is an important dynamic of in-person activity that is missing. So I do think increasingly, for the challenge for any of, be it for ADB, be it for ILO or any international development organization, is to constantly stay rooted, stay grounded with the government, to be walking, partnering hand in hand with the government on the ground to address quite a bit of this issue, quite a lot of all these challenging issues. Many of these issues are complex. They involve also not just multi-stakeholders, but multiple interests, multiple competing priorities on the agenda. And many of these nuances often cannot be sufficiently addressed or adequately addressed without that connection and communication, that open communication that you often find much more easier in an in-person discussion than over a distance Zoom over a screen. I always like to say that, nowadays I start to not recognize how tall people are when I meet them in person, because in the last 2 years I've met everybody on a screen and everybody looks this tall. And then one of these days I met someone new, and someone who I've met on the screen multiple times, a colleague I've met multiple times, and I realized he was a head taller than me. It never occurred to me. So these are things that are missing in terms of in-person communication. And I think regardless of what crisis happens, I think it's important that all the organizations involved in development stay rooted, stay grounded with the government, and to walk this journey of development.
Thank you, Mr. Finn. And to His Excellency, do you wish to add on anything to this question?
For me, no. That I support Finn and also Attorney. Okay, thanks.
All right. Thank you to all our three speakers for your elaborate responses. I hope our audiences have had many key takeaway points on these responses. And please do keep up with the work that has been done by the ILO, the ADB, and the Ministry of Social Affairs, Veterans and Youth Rehabilitation. They have been doing an excellent job on social protection. So thank you so much for joining us today. So thank you so much, Excellencies, distinguished speakers, for your valuable comments and on the governmental activities as well as the roles of your organizations that has been implemented so far. But due to time constraint, I wish to end our discussion here. Before closing the program, may I invite all our honorable speakers for a group photo, please. All right, I will be counting to 3, and please don't forget to give a warm smile. All right, okay. 1, 2, 3. Another one. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much to all honorable speakers for your kind cooperation. And to end this program today, please allow me to express my gratitude to all our speakers for spending your valuable time with us today, and to all our audiences for following our program until the end. We would like to wish our speakers and guests to be safe from the coronavirus that is still going on. And we wish to apologize for any unintentional mistakes that has happened during our event. Please stay tuned for our next program on the 3rd week of December in 2022. We wish you a pleasant day ahead. Thank you and goodbye.
Okay, bye-bye, and thank you, Attorney and Finn.
Bye, Excellency Mania. Take care. I see you have managed to get through the traffic.
Yeah, okay, Tori, that I just arrived while now me is in Korea, that so quite complicated within communication.